Hey, welcome into another episode of the 50-Yard Line, a preview of Tennessee football. I'm here with the Real Week, Stephen Weeks of the Gridiron Blitz. Josh Greer will be back as soon as he is able to. And we'll get rolling here with this week's West Tennessee picks, along with talking about some Lane versus Bethel here in West Tennessee, along with any Vandy news and Vols news as well. But this week on the Gridiron here in West Tennessee, we've got a lot of good games, but these two teams come in something that we typically don't see 0-1 to start the year off, and that's Dresden hosting McKenzie. I've got McKenzie bouncing back. A tough opponent in week one, and that's the state champs, 2A state champs, the Huntington Mustangs. But I got them bouncing back with a big win over Dresden on the road this week. Weeks, what you got?
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. The Ric Flair used to say to beat the man you got to, or to be the man you got to beat the man, right? McKenzie in single A is the man.
Yeah.
There's nobody in single A right now in West Tennessee that really is. It's McKenzie here, everybody else,
Right.
and Cole Brown being the quarterback there and all those athletes on that field, I don't see much of a game, honestly. Dresden's a little bit down, but I still think that team is going to be able to compete for a playoff spot.
Right.
I just look. It's not about a matter of is Dresden good enough. No, they've got a brutal schedule that they've started off with, but McKenzie is one of these teams I think is gonna play for the state title again, probably against South Pittsburgh. This team is that good. Heck, they play. You saw what they did against Huntington. They played really well. Just got outplayed by Kenton Smith. This team's going to be good. I think this isn't going to be close.
Yeah, not close by a heartbeat, I don't think. Second game on our docket here is a 1-0 team on both sides of the ball, and that's Gibson County, that we typically don't talk about as 1-0. No knocking there, but they're taking on Obion on the road. I see Obion going to 2-0 this week and taking care of business at home. They're just too tough, I think, for Gibson County. I'm glad Gibson County got the win and give them some life there, but Obion too tough for the Pioneers this week.
Yeah, congratulations first off to Coach Pack there at Gibson County for getting a win. I don't know how long it had been, but it'd been a while. And they had that quarterback of Gibson County, Sloan McCormick. He went off against West Carroll, but kind of going to go back down to water will always find its level. Give Obion County, I think that they're going to struggle a little bit this year, but this team is not going to struggle on Friday. They had to replace the leading rusher in school history from last season.
Right.
And in their first game without him, they scored 6 rushing touchdowns. Three of them by Tyler Stork and 2 of them by a freshman in Xander Purnell. I thought it was a great game from Obion County. I think that they're going to win this one. They beat Lake County 41-20. I think this one will be a little bit worse, but it's really nice to see Gibson County get back in that win column. I do think Coach Pack is a heck of a ball coach. It's just tough to win over there at Gibson County because there's no depth whatsoever, and the numbers are low. But winning a game is a big deal over there, and congratulations to him and that team.
Yeah, it's definitely a feather in the caps for their program, right? Especially as they move forward in this now what we call the transfer portal, the era of high school ball. So you've got to win some games, and you've got to give kids a reason to stay there. So congratulations, Coach Pack and the Gibson County Pioneers. But I think your streak runs, to the end this week. Obion County gets the win. Humboldt and Peabody, another set of 1-0 teams. Humboldt Vikings, and they get the win opening the season. And Peabody, Coach Tab Val up there, talks about their youth, talks about they've got to get better each and every day to compete, and they took care of business on the opening night of high school football. Two teams here that it's going to be a very exciting game, and what a quarterback Humboldt has.
Yeah, yeah. Jaden Champion, what he went 23 and 29, had 3 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
There's offensive weapons all over that team. Um, like I, but is this one of those things that I don't know? But is this one of those things like last year where we thought Humboldt might break through and become one of those surprise teams, and they kind of just did what Humboldt has done in the past. I do think Hayden Williams does a really good job with this Humboldt team.
Mm-hmm.
They have been this preseason. They have been putting up numbers. So, man, I'm sitting here thinking, is this an upset to say that Humboldt's going to win the game? I don't know. That's who I'm picking. It's hard to pick against a traditional powerhouse like Peabody. I don't like doing it. But man, the numbers that Humboldt's picking or putting up is crazy. I'm gonna be at the game Friday. I'm pretty excited for it. But
Yeah,
this one, I'm confused about this one. I don't know. I'm gonna pick Humboldt in an upset, I guess. But I don't
I
know.
think you have to call it the upset in the totality of what these two programs have done in the last, let's say, 10 years, right? So it definitely
Yeah.
would be an upset, but the athletes are there, especially this year. We saw them getting better over the last couple of years, and Humboldt, not saying they're back, but what I'm saying is they're good enough to beat you, and you better be careful. And this Friday night on the road, which is really not that far down the street from where their home field is, but on the road, they could definitely beat a Peabody team. If they're overlooking, are they looking ahead to the next game? If they are, they're going to get beat because Humboldt has weapons. I'm picking Humboldt as well. I won't be there. I'll be at the next game we're going to talk about. But I'm picking Humboldt to win this, and I don't want to call it the upset. I think this year these two teams are pretty evenly matched, and I think Humboldt comes out and takes care of business. They're going to put up some points. Peabody's going to put up some points too, but I think Humboldt gets the win.
If anything in this game, Peabody's got to score a bunch of points.
Yes.
Humboldt. One thing is Humboldt gave up what 30 points last week to Halls. They're going to give up some points. So if you can keep up with them and maybe force a turnover, you got a good shot there. But if Humboldt's firing on all cylinders like they did offensively last week and in the preseason, I think this one could be. Obviously, I think this could be 70, 80 points. But yeah, you're right. I think. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to call it an upset either.
Yeah. Next game is Milan at South Gibson County. We saw South Gibson County kind of get rolled in week one, and not what we're used to out of the Hornets there in Medina. Milan, everybody says they're down. Then they go out and they shellac Southside. Was it 28 to nothing in the first quarter, and the game was over. Basically, I think people are saying maybe 6 plays or something like that. It was pretty much out of reach. Milan is what Milan is. Yes, when you lose Pete, you're going to have to replace offense on the field. One of the best running backs coming through West Tennessee in a long time. Obviously now playing at the University of Tennessee at Martin, and this young man is a heck of a player. So yeah, you expect to have somewhat of a drop-off, but Milan comes out, gets the big win. South Gibson struggles. I think they struggle again this week. I think Milan goes to South Gibson, just another right down the street type program, and I think they pick up their second win of the season. And what does that say about South Gibson if they go 0-2?
I mean, I think they went 0-2 last year and they made it to the state semifinals.
That's
right?
true, right?
But all right. So I'm not going to put much stock in the big loss against FRA. FRA is a Division II private school. They have a Vanderbilt commit with Amari Sanders. They're a really really good ball club. Milan still has a few questions to be answered. One, it's the offensive line. I know that they dominated the Southside game, but Southside's a lot more down than we're used to. And and for me, it's who's going to carry that load, or are they going to be more of a, thunder and lightning there at running back with Carson Kelly and the Taylor kid that transferred over from West Carroll? Uh, I don't know. Are we going to throw the ball with Zach Summers a little more? I don't. He has been really good in the preseason throwing the ball, so it's. I don't know. I'm going with Milan, but in a lot closer game. When it's those rivalry games, you never know what's going to happen. South Gibson has one of those offenses that's really hard to defend. Milan has an offense that's really hard to defend, and Coach Comer is a legend. Uh, I'm going to go with Milan, but I think this is really close, and I think this is one of those games where if you're there, which you will be, you'll start to see some semblance of a really good team there at South Gibson that's going to get better. But I think Milan wins the game, but it's going to be a lot closer than what some people think.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you said there. I think it will be closer than what we think. I don't think it'll be a runaway from Ireland. Call it what you might, as it's the new coach syndrome, right? I mean, I know he's the defensive coordinator, but now he's over here as the director of, he's the captain of the whole ship. Some things have changed. Ben Johnson was, had his hands in a lot of the offense and what was going on there. So I think, just a little bit, they got to get some things worked out. And I think they have probably one of the best starting 11 on offense. In this region 4A here, they can go with anybody when they're clicking. They just have to be clicking. And right now,
yeah, I agree.
They're not. So Milan in a close one. I'm not saying it's 3 touchdowns. It may be a 9-point or even a 7-point or less game, but I think Milan wins this one. The last game on our high school docket here is Memphis Business at Trinity. I chose this one because of what Trinity did to Dresden last week. I thought, heck, that was a steamroll there, and Memphis Business is business-like when they hit the field. They win some big ball games. They won at Trinity last year. I think it was 50-34, if I recall that score correctly. So Trinity's got to make up some ground here in this win from last year, but they've got the heck of a back over there at Trinity, and I think they can go down there and take care of business at Memphis Business. What do you have in this one?
Well, the difference between last year and this year is this is a totally different Memphis Business team. Everybody that was in the backfield for Memphis Business has either graduated or transferred to a bigger school.
Right.
This team, they opened the season with Munford, which I think Munford is a top 3 team in West Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and they got smacked around.
Right.
I think this is a lot of the same here. TCA is a good team. Coach Bolin has his team. Last year they were a big surprise to me. I thought TCA was going to be down, and then you in week 3 they're sitting there in a 1-possession game against USJ.
Yeah.
They played for that. They played for that. I thought they could have won a region title. Just a couple things go a little bit different. This TCA team is, they're not going to get the attention that JCS and USJ is going to get this year because those two teams are teams that can make a run to a state title. JCS or TCA was right there last year. One went away from playing in those big time games. I think they were in the semifinals and lost to Nashville Christian. I might be wrong there. So they were there.
Yeah.
And this team's better than last year. So I'm going with TCA by as many as they want. This team is going to be really good. Setting up a really good matchup next week with USJ. That'll be something that my team might be at.
Yeah, I think you're right. They lost by 2 to USJ week 3, and then they get the win over JCS by 3 points. I think they're a little bit later in the season, but they took care of business down the road, and then they made that run in the playoffs till Nashville Christian, who got everybody, that was in front of them. So, but they finished 10-3 last year, 5-1 in their region, and so you got to give them some props. But I think they're again better probably than they were last year. So, could they sneak up and take a region title from the Division II West teams? They They showed that they can play with USJ and JCS, even beating one of those two. So if that's the case and you're potentially better, you better watch out for TCA this year.
I agree. And look, Coach Bowen is a legend in West Tennessee. I think that if you're going to count out them, you're counting out him, and I'm not a big fan of that, and I
No.
won't ever be.
Yeah, you've got to. It's hard to say that you got a better coaching mind on the other side of the or on your side of the field than what's on the other side of the field. And not knocking any coach in West Tennessee, but Coach Bowen is one of the best. And yeah,
He's got 4 of them.
so when you look at that, you better go, hey, wait a minute. He's got that experience. And sometimes even the lesser teams that have better coaches do better than the teams that got the talent. Just saying. It is what it is. Hey, let's get into some college news here and look at these 3 games on the college bracket. We got one here locally between the Lane Dragons and the Bethel Wildcats. And I think, for these two teams, this is a huge game because of the amount of talent they pull from these local areas. And so, Lane, has had its ups and downs. Bethel's always been a very solid program here in West Tennessee. And, if Lane could sneak up and pull one from Bethel, what a recruiting tool that would be for the Lane Dragons. Now, I met with the AD this past Friday night from Lane College. We actually have a meeting set up potentially for tomorrow as well. And then he'll be on my Saturday shows, Sports Talk Live with the coach, on Saturday to talk about this game and his program there. So new AD, some new leadership, probably some new life coming through the Lane community there. And so kind of excited about this game on Saturday. And if it wasn't for Arizona coming into town to Westview, I'd probably be at this game at Lane and Bethel on Saturday. What you got?
I'm not, I don't know much about either team, honestly, and that's probably my fault. But I do know this is the first ever matchup between the two.
Right.
That's what I found out about that, which I find surprising. I mean, they've both been around. They've both been some winning programs. I think it's wild that they've never played each other.
Yeah.
Because of history, I think I'm going to pick Bethel, but I mean, Lane is Division III, if I'm correct,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that would be considered an upset, NAIA over a Division III team, I think. So I'm going to go with Bethel just because they're the team that I've seen winning recently, the most recent. But it would be really fun to see Lane College back and winning, just a new culture. And, it's not been. And I do know that. So it would be really cool to see these teams around here just be, let's just have some good football all around in West Tennessee, starting with UTM, all of our high school teams, Bethel. Let's just start winning over here.
Yeah.
Just in a consistent fashion.
Right. I 100% agree, and I'm right there with you. I think Bethel wins this. It's at Bethel, so you got to give them a little bit of home field advantage, although it's, what is it, 40 minutes maybe max for Lane to get there, just because you got to go through Atwood and Tresvent and all those areas. There's no straight shot, but, get you some Block City pizza if you go to the game. That's always a great choice, but I think Bethel wins this one probably by, I'm going to say 2 scores. I think 2 scores, so 10-point better average there. Bethel's just been Mr. Consistency for their program, and I think they get the win. It'd be an upset in my opinion if Lane gets that win over Bethel. What about Vandy? We haven't. Jared Curtis has come in. Everybody loves the way he throws the ball. There was, Pavia's gone, that circus, that fiasco. And I'm going to just say this. I've seen a lot of people posting things and making some news on Vandy, but right now Vandy is running under the radar, in my opinion. They've had Tennessee's number over the last few years. They've won some big ball games with Pavia and things like that, getting some big upsets for a Vandy team. And all of a sudden, in my opinion, the news has just kind of died down. What do you feel about Vandy this year? I know we're not picking games right now. We're just talking Vandy overall.
Okay, but before I get started, having Tennessee's number is a bit of a stretch. They beat our tail last year, but I mean, they have not had our number. Diego Pavia put it on us last year, and it wasn't fun to watch. So, but let's move on.
I just like poking a bear. I just like poking the bear, man.
I just needed to say that. I needed to point that out. But Jared Curtis is the best high school quarterback I ever got to watch in person. He was a Georgia commit all the way up into signing day. I thought that there was no question that he was going to walk in day one and he was going to be the starter. Well, we find out 2 days ago that he is not the starter. They're going to start Blaze Berlowitz, the senior that came over here with Diego Pavia from New Mexico State. So he's obviously been the backup for 2 years. He knows this system. But Jared Curtis is going to play. They have 2 games open the season up with Austin Peay on the 5th, and then they play Delaware on the 12th. These are 2 games where you can figure out what you want to be, basically you can figure out who's going to be the quarterback in those 2 games. You can start Berlowitz, but I think in the long run, when it comes down to it later in the season, I think you're going to see Jared Curtis take over and become that starter. People were freaking out online. I was seeing it, and there was beat writers thinking this was the wildest thing ever. But Jared Curtis is not going to, just because he's not starting does not mean anything. I think he'll be the starter by the end of the year. I don't think Vanderbilt fans have anything to worry. He ain't transferring because of it. But I did find it a little shocking that he wasn't named QB1 from the get-go. But this Vanderbilt team is, I think, a lot like Tennessee this year. I think both teams are a lot of unknowns. You don't know. They both have 5-star freshmen. I think the number 1 and the number 2 quarterback in the country. Both of them have some weapons, but there are questions all the way around. So I think they're similar, and I think that last game of the season is going to be fun. I think eventually it'll be 2 5-star quarterbacks, true freshman 5-star quarterbacks playing each other. But Vanderbilt's going to be fine. Jared Curtis is going to be fine. But I want to see how this Berlowitz kid does. I know he's a senior. He should be able to go in here and be fine at quarterback.
If Curtis gets solid playing time in Austin Peay and Delaware games, do they give him? Let's just say he outperforms. Let's say he throws the deep ball and he comes in maybe 4th quarter and he just puts up a couple good scores, doesn't turn the ball over. Do they actually give him maybe an opportunity to start against NC State in Game 3?
I think it's possible because remember, if he plays 2 more games, which he will, he loses any type of red shirt.
Right.
So I think, honestly, it doesn't hurt you at all if you have to start Jared Curtis. I mean, I think you have to eventually start it because why not throw him out to the fire as a true freshman and just see what happens? I think you could very easily see Jared Curtis as starting quarterback week 3.
Yeah. And then if it doesn't pan out, then pull him so that he's not playing the Georgias and the Ole Misses and the Alabamas the rest of the season and give him time to mature and grow. But not knocking Austin Peay or Delaware, that's obviously lesser talent, lesser programs than the Vanderbilt program. And so I think you just got to give him a chance against a team, and NC State may be one of those squads that go, hey, man, we can put you out here and give you an opportunity to start, see what you look like for a couple good quarters. And if you don't screw up, maybe the team is yours because it's going to be yours for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Same question about the Vols. I'm poking the bear there, just saying, hey, Vandy's got, obviously Vandy don't have the Vols number, but What about the Vols? They announced their quarterback. There's some questions there. Obviously, the starting safety went out. Now the kid from Penn State's coming in to take that role. A kid that probably Jim Knowles is very familiar with because of his time at Ohio State, and probably the reason he's at Tennessee because of Jim Knowles and that tie to Ohio State coming out to Tennessee. And so, what do you feel about Tennessee, again, not picking any games, just saying, hey, here's what our feel is. My feel overall is that they're still going to struggle immensely in some big games. I'm saying 7-5 is probably the low ball for Tennessee this year. If they don't at least go 7-5, there's potential they could lose some. Do they lose DGG if they go 7-5 or worse? If they go 6-6, they say, "Hey, screw it! I'm just going to go to Ohio State and I'm going to get the same amount of money anyway." Potentially, I'll go up there and ask for it. They'll probably give it to me. But if they don't go 8-4, I think there's some recruits on here that you got to watch out for Tennessee.
I I can see that. I think the right call was made starting the true freshman with Faison.
Yeah.
Because that goes and shows those guys say, hey, we're going to start these guys because we're not, we're not where we want to be.
Right.
So you guys are going to help us get there. So I think that's selling point to these guys. DGG comes in next year and he starts immediately with the loss of Deshaun Bishop. So I don't see. I think that selling point might be a little bit bigger than a 7-5, or I don't think there's any hope or any shot of a 6-6. I think you take some lumps with Faison, but I think this team has weapons. He's got the amount of weapons he has around him at receiver. I think he's got the best offensive line Tennessee's had in the last 3 or 4 years. Defensively, there's some holes there, but also we'll have a new system, and as you know, the Knowles defensive system takes a little bit to get put in. I think this team is, like I said last week, I think this team's floor is 7-5. I think the ceiling is 10-3. 10-2. I'm sorry. Yeah, 10-2. But I think a lot of good things have to happen for that 10-2. But I'm anxious to see a lot of these guys that we brought in from the transfer portal, mainly on defense. There are a bunch of older guys coming in. I'm anxious to see how they do. But also, I'm ready to see what our freshman can do at quarterback. He's been the guy. We've been talking about him similar to how we talked to him or talked about Nico.
Mm-hmm.
He has been the future. We've been waiting on him for 2 or 3 years now. And he looks the part. If you watch, and I'm a junkie, so I watch anything I can about football all the time. And
Right.
if you watch anything about him, you see how big he is. He makes his ball is great, but he's not had any live game action, and we find that out. Thankfully, we start the season off with Furman before we travel over to Atlanta in week 2. So he's going to get a little bit of game action in that game 1, and then he gets thrown to the fire at Bobby Dodd in week 2. And we'll see what this Tennessee team is made of on the road against an ACC team. I still think the weapons around Faison are going to be a lot better than people are expecting. We've still got Deshaun Bishop, who's a 1,000-yard rusher, and that offensive line, I think, is I'm telling you, I think they're a lot better than we've had. Even the year that we made the playoffs, I think they're better than that. So we'll see, and that's what you need if you need to succeed around a freshman quarterback. You just put weapons around him, and he doesn't need to screw up. Make plays, take what's given to him.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, hey, this is a predetermined read, but you've got to make it simple for him to have that success, especially when you start off with Furman, right? I mean, just go out there, make it simple, let the athletes get the balls in their hand and do what athletes do, and that's score points. And if they can get some confidence, him throwing them the ball, because that week 2 game really is the game that kind of scares me just as much as Texas does, because Georgia Tech can sneak up and beat you in a heartbeat. And so if you lose to a Georgia Tech in week 2, what kind of locker room grumbling do you potentially start to see? Because you know that in week 4, you've got Texas rolled in, and you got, what is it, Kennesaw State in week 3, but you know that they're going to be looking ahead in week 3 to week 4. There's just no way. You got to say, hey, our freshman team can beat Kennesaw State in theory, and we should be looking and preparing for Texas for 2 weeks, not Kennesaw State, because no matter what we do, we can beat them. But if you do that in week 2, Georgia Tech will beat you, and there'll be some noise coming out of that camp. And I know, my Saturday show, I take a ribbon from some guys about Tennessee, and I'm okay with it. All I say is just bring me the facts. But the fact is nowadays, until you wear the uniform on the field, are you guaranteed a commit? And also, the next year, that commit may be gone anyway. So you've got the winning is now amped itself up to where these games matter.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, if Tennessee goes out here and goes 5-7 or 6-6, you could lose everybody. This is.
Yeah.
I just think you got to go show some. You got to take another step. I do think that I think that we're in a good position to keep DGG because of the fact that this kid he can come in immediately and play. Like there's him and Asa will be coming in next year as true freshmen, and Tennessee will have one kid that after this year that has ran the ball. So we'll see. Obviously, you got to win some ball games, but week 2, I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a big one. You got to just show up. You got to show up and show out. I mean, that's cliche, but that's what you got to do. Don't try to do too much. It's simple. Just take what you're given and win the ball game that way.
Yeah, 100%. What game? We talked about the Texas game, I think, a couple times now, and obviously Texas is a very great program. Historically, they've got a great team right now. They're loaded with athletes. So, what other game besides Texas really stands out on this schedule as, hey, this is a statement game for us? It's really a must win.
All right. So I've already, we talk about Texas. I think that's the most important game of the season for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I think it's number 1 on the list. I would put Alabama at number 2.
Okay.
But the game that nobody talks about, and it's South Carolina going to Columbia. Tennessee struggles at Columbia. I think, and it doesn't matter who is on the sideline. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Tennessee struggles at South Carolina, and I've been witness to one of those games. I've been there, and it was the most miserable 12 hours I ever had driving back. This team has to win these kind of games. That's a game that you should win on paper, but it's never like that. So I think for me, number 1, like the 2 games we mentioned, I think those are given. But I think for me, it's South Carolina at 1. And then right there at the end, obviously Vanderbilt, but that Texas A&M game on the road could be a turning point on whether or not you're, who knows how the season goes. Are you in playoff contention or are you in bowl contention? That's going to be a big one. And going on the road, going to Kyle Field, it's always a big deal.
Yeah, that is a dangerous game because then the next week you get LSU. That's 2 powerhouses that, I mean, heaven forbid anybody got hurt in those 2 games. You could be looking at Vanderbilt just chomping at the bits to get you, in Nashville for that game because it's pandemonium if Tennessee is weakened in any way, shape, and form coming into that Vanderbilt, it's pandemonium in Nashville.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a fabulous week of football talk right here on the 50-yard line. We'll be back next week for another week 3 in the high school season, and I mean, we're talking now kickoff on college football, and it's man, it's getting exciting.
This weekend.
I've got 4 TVs set up, ready to go, 2 computers, and maybe even an old time projector that I might just go ahead and plug something in. I got a Fire Stick I can plug into it. We may have football galore. Excited about getting up to Martin this week and looking at this Arizona team coming in. That Arizona team, by the way, I can't remember what the average was on offense, but they allowed 0 points in 11 games. 0 points in 11 games.
This is the first year of 11-on-11 football for this team.
Right.
So but they recruited almost 2,500 pounds of offensive linemen coming in.
Yeah.
So this team is going to be huge. Will they be able to compete with a team like Westview? I don't know. I really don't know. You got 5 D1 players on that team right now. So we'll see. We'll see what the Arizona Compass has. I'm excited. I'll be there. I'll see you there.
That's it. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and catch us next week. Make sure you follow the Real Weeks on all of his socials, the Coach TS right here, and we'll see you next week on the 50-Yard Line. Have a great week.